Hi, I'm Eric Dresser, Executive Director with Whitman Community Access, and we're here today at the Whitman Amateur Radio Club annual Field Day event, which happens to be a hobby of my own, so I had to come down and check it out. So we'd like to show you around a little bit today, show you what's happening here at Field Day, why they call it Field Day, and learn a little bit more about ham radio, or amateur radio as it's also called, and how it can be a form of communications during emergencies or just for fun, for amateur use or other purposes such as that. So let's take a look.
My name is Paul Moss. Obviously my call sign is KB1MTW. I've been doing this for a few years. This is the rear end of the East Bridgewater Y property, and we've been operating down here I think now for about 6 years. We found it to be a very nice place to work, as you can see from the lay of the land. And the whole purpose of the Field Day operation, which is a national operation, it's a 24-hour deal. We started transmitting at 2 p.m. our time, and we will stop transmitting at 2 p.m. tomorrow afternoon. But the whole idea is to set up in a place where you don't necessarily have all of the conveniences of home. You don't have towers, you don't have fixed antennas. These are all temporary antennas that we've put up out here. In fact, they're putting up another antenna over here right now. But we have 3 operating stations. This is our hub headquarters, and then there's an operating station in there. The camper that's over here, there's an operating station. The truck camper that's behind him, there's another operating station. And we have 2 more, I believe, or at least 1 more, up underneath the pavilion up here on the top of the hill. You get points for making connections between us and whomever throughout the country. Right now, because of atmospheric conditions and sunspot activity, contacts, or what we call contacts, connections are kind of tough. But when we have a sunspot maximum, the place will be hopping like crazy with connections.
NI1X, November India 1 X-ray, special event for Field Day. November India 1 X-ray, special event station, Field Day, calling CQ. November India 1 X-ray, November India 1 X-ray, special event station for Field Day.
Eastern Massachusetts, this is November India 1 X-ray. Thank you much. 28.405.5. That was my first contact.
Was it?
Yeah.
Awesome. Congrats. Did it get his call sign?
I didn't get his call sign. Mike Victor Alpha?
2 Alpha something Wisconsin. Oh, 2 Alpha.
Yep.
Yeah.
I didn't get his call sign before.
She.
Cool.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Congratulations. You're welcome.
First call sign.
I was like, I did my first one.
I've been following everybody around all day, like a little puppy, learning, you know. On 10 meters too.
Yeah, that's good.
Most people head to like 20 or 40, but
yeah.
they want to be a man about it, you know?
Right, yeah.
So are you a member of the Whitman Amateur Radio Club?
I am. I got involved with them. I got involved with ham radio probably 3 or 4 years ago with Scouts. I needed, when I was Scoutmaster, we needed I wanted another avenue for emergency contact outside of radio range. So I became a technician class, which allows you to use 2-meter and offer repeaters. So honestly, any place we're camping, or hiking up into the White Mountains, we can hit a 2-meter repeater, and should we need some assistance, which we shouldn't, it's always nice to have that safety net. And that's what got me involved in ham radio. I have just recently started to get more deeply involved in ham radio. I've done it for a couple of years, but within the last year or so, I've really decided to make it even a more involved hobby.
So we were down here sitting at the 10-meter station, and I see you made your first contact. Tell me about that experience.
I did. It was kind of neat to get your first contact on 10 meters. I talked to a woman out of Wisconsin from down here in Bridgewater, and it was kind of a neat experience to get your first long-distance HF high-frequency contact on 10 meters. So it was an interesting thing that happened today. So it was kind of fun.
And so the difference here when we're out and we're dealing with the HF radio, I know as another fellow ham, but for our viewers, what's the difference here? What do we get with these bands and with the HF radio?
With the HF, obviously, it's longer distance, and the bands are everything from 6, 10, 12, hopefully I don't miss one, 15, 17, 20, 30, which is strictly CW for continuous wave, which is basically Morse code, which is very intriguing. Anybody who is interested in Morse code, it is a vibrant area in ham radio. And then we go to 40, 60, 70, 80, and I think it's 160 on top of that. So there's many bands to choose from, lots of places to go and have fun as a ham radio operator. Ham radio is actually a hobby that is actually growing. There are more and more licensed hams in the United States every year. It's one of those interesting hobbies that is growing continuously. There's always an interest in it. In fact, we had a young kid today that he made his first contact. I think he's 15 years old, and he got involved in ham radio because of one of his teachers at his high school. And he went and got his tech license, and he's down there under the supervision of somebody else working the stations as well. And he's having as good a time as I am here. Age shows no boundaries in ham radio.
I decided to participate in field day today, so yeah.
So how long have you been into radio, or how long have you been a ham?
I've been a ham for about a year now, so it's really a lot of fun. So I have to kind of get my next license so I can continue, ham radio, be more advanced in it.
So I take it by you say you get your next license that you're sort of the entry-level technician class at this point.
Yep.
Okay. And you've been looking to go into the general class, where I just saw in the booth a moment ago in the tent, you were making some contacts up on the bands that the general class ham would have access to. So tell me what that experience was like.
It was actually very amazing. It kind of just told me what I want to do in the future. Made me really want to get my general, so I can be able to talk more into HF more often, talk to more people, make more contacts in the future. So.
Okay, we got a 1 Delta, Illinois. QRZ, Whiskey 3 Yankee Alpha.
November, Indiana 1 X-ray. November, Indiana 1 X-ray.
Radio Tango 3 Alpha, Western PA.
So we just do the best we can, and that's the whole idea of it. You come out, you set up, we're operating the transmitters, have to be on generator power or battery power. And if we had a solar setup, you get extra points for running something on solar. But look around you. As I said, they're putting up an antenna over here. I have a big long wire that's up basically parallel with this power line that's over my head. And then he's got the antenna on the mast and the trailer over there. And then there's 2 more antennas that are operating up on the hill that take care of that. So that's basically our field day wrapped up real simple. It's a good time. And we enjoy it, and so we come out and do it. And the whole idea is to train ourselves to do what we need to do. And should there be a real emergency, the saying goes that when all else fails, amateur radio can get through. So that's it in a nutshell.
When you score the points and everything,
Yeah.
Do you compete against other nearby stations, or what do
We
you
are
do with the
competing
points?
against everyone in, well, we're competing against, I believe we're competing against our region, which is Region 1. But we're also competing on a national level. The whole idea, as I said, is to make as many connections as possible. And as I said, if we had a station that was running on a solar panel array or batteries, why it's worth extra points. But all of our transmitters now, things like computers, and if you go up in the pavilion on the top of the hill up here, you'll see that the lighting, that's all street power, but that's perfectly legal. And we transmit, we're running on a call sign. It is a club owned, well I won't say owned, but a club assigned call sign. It is a call sign that belonged to a gentleman who passed away a number of years ago. He was one of our past club officers, club president, and very, very interested in amateur radio for a good many years. And his name was Bruce Hayden, and his call sign was an I1X. So the club, after he passed away, chose to adopt that call sign as one of theirs, and FCC, the ARRL and the FCC said that was fine. So we now have it to use whenever we choose to, when we basically choose for special event purposes to use that particular call sign. Now if we were down at Marshfield Fair, which is another event we do, we will have an operating station down there for the duration of the fair. And down there we have a special call sign, NN1MF, Nancy 1 Marshfield Fair. And we've had that for a good many years as well. And one of the things that we were involved with down at the fair in the last couple of years is the fair runs a scavenger hunt, where people, kids especially, get a card, and they're assigned to go around to various points within the fair to get a stamp. And if they succeed in getting all of their stamps, then they get a special prize, and they become eligible for, I think there's a grand prize drawing or something like that. So it's kind of neat, and it's another operation that we do. And then we also go down to Plymouth Plantation and do a special event station down there right around Thanksgiving time, and put Plymouth Plantation on the air. So we're an active group. Right now we're registered over 100 members, and we just have a good time and we enjoy amateur radio. Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Yeah, taking naps. Everybody's taking a nap.
We're never sure how the band condition is either. It could be shifting around and you don't really know.
CQ Field Day, CQ Field Day, CQ Field Day. This is November, India 1 X-ray. 28.5, is that right?
Yep, 28.5.
Well, that wraps things up for today's look at Field Day 2017 with the Whitman Amateur Radio Club. For more information on amateur radio here in the Whitman area, the Whitman Amateur Radio Club's website is wa1npo.org. That's their call sign, wa1npo.org. Thanks so much for watching.
Le moment